a seat to the bar and join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tansen, Jess, and Maggie bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk. Welcome to McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 9.14, Consulting the Consultant, where we are covering the novel Summer Night. My name is Tansen, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Golf.
For
Golf.
Chapter 18. Dresden meets Murphy at the local Wal-Mart and tells Murphy everything that happened. While the two discuss the case, the lights go out and a mysterious, malevolent mist enters the building.
Harry's got to get out of this fucking hotel.
Yes. He's like, getting the hell away from here. And I love this chapter. I loved it so much the very first time. And so he immediately goes and gives Murphy a call. And she apparently has been sitting by the phone because she's like, Dresden? And he's like, yeah. So, I mean, granted, we did have call display then. So, I mean, she could have been like, not very many people. Call me from, like, a payphone. So, she's whatever. She's like, Dresden? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, I need to talk. And she's like, oh, okay, where? So, I love how she's not like, oh, we're just going to sit and talk on the phone. He's like, no, this is obviously, like... So, he's like, I don't know, someplace public with a bunch of people, but quiet enough to talk. And she's like, in Chicago at this time of night? Which is funny, because we're like, hello. So she's like, all right, I know somewhere. Agree to meet in 20 minutes. And off they go. And then, so partially why this came
But he's
up
all like,
was-
not a lot of clandestine meetings happen at a Walmart. And it's like, did you know this was going to be a clandestine meeting? Why were you planning ahead for that?
Well, I mean, he knew when he talked to her because he knew what he wanted to talk about. I think that part is the clandestine.
That's
Right.
what I'm talking about. I'm like, it just seems a little bit, to call your own conversation clandestine.
I guess, maybe.
I didn't like that
Oh,
his
it's
description where he's at
right.
the parking lot. As I pulled into the parking lot, I reflected on the odds that were not a lot of clandestine meetings involving mystical assassinations, theft of arcane power, and the balance of power in the realms of the supernatural had taken place in a Walmart supercenter. Then again, maybe they had. Hell, for all I knew, the mole man used to use the changing rooms as a place to discuss plans for world domination with the psychic jellyfish from Planet X and the disembodied brains in a jar from the Klaatu Nebula. I know, I wouldn't have looked for them there.
Yeah, right. It's like, I definitely am not. I'm like, maybe that's why the change rooms all closed down and never reopened. It was like, apparently the psychic jellyfish left, like, brains all over or something.
That's why Walmart is just like that.
Yeah. They're like, we go through this in the States all the time. We're just not bringing that shit up to Canada. You guys are not in here all night. We're just not going to make that an option. But yes, much of why that was on our brains, I think, for last chapter, is exactly where they head here. And they have, like you say, like a cafe that is still open 24. And that I will say, when we did have the brief 24 hours here, the side shops, like I say, the nail parlor and the optometrist and whatever, they were not. All of those places that he's saying, all these little hole-in-the-wall places that he goes by, and apparently they stay open 24 hours.
Oh, not really.
Maybe
the
just the
optometrist stuff. I
cafeteria
don't ever
thing.
remember them being open. But
Okay, maybe just the coffee shop area, but we don't have coffee shop areas.
it's like McDonald's now.
We usually have like a McDonald's and the occasional one at Tim Hortons now. And yes, those...
Pretty much only if it's on the highway. And even then.
Where was the last one? Anyways, regardless. So they apparently have like this coffee shop that is still open because they can go and sit down somewhere. They don't have to sit on one of those benches in the middle of the aisles between the shoes and the bathing suits or something. And they get a cup of coffee.
Dresden enters the Walmart and is shortly joined by Murphy, As you say, they sit at the cafe doors indoors. Murphy chose a booth where she could watch the door. Have you ever sat with somebody that insists to never have their back to the door? I know a few people like that, and it just kind of makes me giggle.
No, I don't think I specifically have anybody that insists on.
Then the people that I can think of, their reasoning is like they're too paranoid to have their back to the door because somebody could be coming in with a gun or a knife, and they wouldn't be able to see them.
Right.
Because their back is to the door. So it's big paranoia security issue thing for them.
Yes. Yeah, no, I don't think I know anybody that is.
I know all those people, I just don't believe them.
Yeah.
I always try to sit in that spot first just to see who it irritates because they kind of like get a little antsy and they're like,
how dare you?
Yeah. It is kind of funny. And then she's like, so I sat on the other side so I could keep an eye on Murphy's back. It's like, she's watching the exit, I'm watching her back, we got this down. So she's like, you don't really look so good or whatever. And he's like, I'm fucking furious. Like, I can't even think straight. And she's like, want to talk about it? And he's like, actually, yes, I do. And I swear I may possibly have literally jumped for joy. I may just have done mental jump for joys when we got to this. But yeah, the very first time around reading this, I was like, yes. And I was kind of surprised. 'Cause in some ways, I'm like, took you long enough. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm actually kind of impressed. Thank you, Butcher, for not waiting more than these first couple of books. And it's, what did we say here? Chapter 19 or something like that. Like, we're still fairly we're not even quite halfway through this book, I don't think, before or at least it feels like it's going pretty quick. A lot of stuff has happened within like a day.
He finally comes out of the wizard closet.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, lays it all. I don't know, like he does kind of give her fair warning too. He's like, look, I want to talk about this. I want to tell you, but there's no going back. And she's like, well, then why tell me now? And he's like, because he's like, I was doing it to try and protect you. And she's like, yeah, it's really annoying. And he's like, but you're kind of there anyways. You are taking on some of this smaller stuff. So, you would be better prepared, but you're also going to be way more at risk if, people know that you know this now. And, I like how he's like, you can't just go round up a posse of cops and go hunting for demons. And she's like, why the hell not? And he's like, 'cause no. Supernatural world does not jive with that. You will put a huge target on your back. So just lay low, pretend like you don't know this shit. But now you could be a little bit more protected because you'll have a better idea. And it was funny.
Well, it comes down to trust too. Like, that's the big thing. He actually really trusts her.
And it was funny because Jess and I were talking about this like a couple of weeks ago on our way here or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, fuck you, Michael. Because he's like, it came down to, who can I trust? And the list was really short. You. I was like, wait a second. I'm like, okay, I understand it may not be appropriate bringing Michael in. Again, right, Michael gets
fuck Billy, fuck Michael.
Yeah, Billy doesn't even get to say in the very beginning where Billy actually already knows about the council. He's like,
yes.
Yeah, no, what council? What?
Yeah, yes, but you're right, he is. Which, I mean, again, I get a little bit here where he's like, the only guy helping me needs a babysitter still. I'm like, okay, it's, again, I sort of get that you're saying it in the sense of Billy's not mature, like you say, either in the supernatural world or in, life kind of a thing, that, yeah, he's still kind of a younger kid guy. But exactly, but I was just like, exactly, so all you said was trust, not, not who would be appropriate or who can come in, because I'm like, I get Michael gets his marching orders from up high, and, like Charity was yelling at him for in the last book that, like, he only gets hurt when he comes in on your shit. Like, when Michael gets sent out on missions, it's fine because he's supposed to be there. But when he helps you on your shit that he's not necessarily supposed to be involved in, right? So I'm like, I get you, maybe you don't want to bring him into the fairy thing and all of this. But yeah, it was just really funny that he was just it's literally the way he said it. He was like, the only person I can trust is you. And I'm like, yeah, so fuck you, Billy, fuck you, Michael.
Very few people.
Very few. Well, yeah, but then he says, very few people on the list, just you. He's like, when I asked myself who I can trust, I came up with a damn short list. You're it.
Right.
So it was like, wow, a little bit harsh there, Dresden, but okay, fine. We'll give it to you in the moment because this is important, and yes, you need to come out with all of this to Murphy.
Well, maybe you can't trust Michael because he would be totally guns a-blazing. You can't rein him back when he's in righteous God mode.
Or maybe he's just trying to, pump up Murphy's ego.
Maybe.
You're the only one.
You're the only one for me, baby. It's you and me.
Right. So yeah, so then he does say, so then he does give her the choice too. He's like, do you want me to saddle you with all of this? Because you're then going to have to live with it, and you can't just, again, necessarily go with your first instinct or whatever. You're going to have to play by the rules of this world if I let you into this world. And she does take a moment. She doesn't take very long, but she just kind of take a moment, and she's like, yeah, okay, hit me. Because she's like, I'm so fucking shit. Like, yes, I want to know what the fuck is going on.
Well, and he's very much, he's like, it doesn't mean you can just bring in the cops whenever you want, right? And that's really her hang up. She's like, fuck you, yes I can. He's like, no, you're really gonna have to see. Because, like, it was one thing bringing the cops to the Nightmare Kravos fight, because it was like, we're still fighting a mortal man, but not everything is gonna be cop appropriate.
Well, exactly. And again, I get the feeling that they brought him into that one or whatever, right? Like, they had these, you know, this cultist stuff, so they had, like, the youth that they were worried about. He was, like, murdering people. They were like, we need to bring this guy in, but hey, right? Whereas exactly, I'm like, a lot of this other stuff is not going to be, like you say, a mortal on mortal kind of a thing, you know what I mean? I mean, it's going to be purely on this side of the fence, and yeah, you can't. And you know, like, they will either outright kill you, or they will find a way to ruin your life. If they can't just take you out, like, again, demons may be demons and monsters, but they all have, you know, fingers in the pot, and they will find a way to get you fired, or get you framed and sent to jail, or, you know what I mean? Like, this is not just like, oh, you know about me. You
Well,
know?
I can definitely see why Murphy would want to know, because this has been a really big point of contention with her, because she knows he's been lying about things to her about the magical world, and it holds back so much information from her.
It's been on the big shit, right? Because like we say, the books don't really start with all this piddly ass, let me find your keys cases. It's when, right? So, I mean, since we've known Murphy, it has been the big stuff. And so far, it has all involved her, you know, to a relatively close degree or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's...
Well, and we said the first two books were very much, it's the cops' world and Harry's just helping them.
Yeah.
And it took until the third book to be like, okay, no, it's a supernatural world and the cops helping him, right?
Yeah.
So this just helps further that shift of like, okay, we're in a supernatural world. Chicago's just also here.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that was a wise decision to make that shift.
Fully.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we could not have gone. I just was afraid it was one of those things that was going to be carried out a little bit long. I can't tell you before, you know, but I was like, okay, thank you. Yes, we did have a little bit of that. We had a couple of books. We've had a year or two by summer. So, yeah, so we're about 2 years into it now.
We want them to be friends.
But the formula of, like, the cop hiring Dresden I don't think that would have
Sustained.
Yeah, I don't think that would have led to many interesting outcomes.
And even still, it's probably one of those things where it was never even what he wanted in the first place. It's just a new author. It's like, how do I have an investigation? Okay, there's got to be you know, I think it's more one of those things like the first time you read an essay, you're like, all right, this is fine, and then you reread it again later, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I should have edited this before I handed it in. Oh well, too late now. You know, it's like, you know, getting into the first world, trying to figure out how do you write an entire supernatural world with rules and all this other shit is pretty intimidating for a brand new author, right?
And I mean, it does kind of fit in the sense that he made him a PI and stuff like that. So of course you are going to work with the cops and have, right, you're doing a cop-like job, so let's give you some cops to, you know, you help them, they help you, exactly, all those things that Dresden sort of can't do on his own.
It was a good immersion to both of them, but it's good that he broke away and went with the more supernatural side
and
of
in
things.
some ways, characters write their own stories.
And
they develop on their own.
Yeah.
That too, right? Just
Can't keep them to that formula.
Depends what dice you roll.
People who don't like Murphy or whatever like that, and like, I don't know, they say that they don't, you know, it's not from the first books, it's from everything, and I'm just like, well then, I just don't get you.
Yeah.
Because like, at least if it was just from the first few books, I could understand it, but even then, I like everything about Murphy, right? But it is a good how finally, it's like, okay, they're friends, let's just, we trust each other, let's go from this new world now.
Exactly, there's no more, you know, half the story and this side and that
this
side.
This
book
really opens up her character a lot. I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of basically everyone is in his world now, because like you say, Murphy now has the full scoop about, you know, the lawful and the governing bodies of his world and why he could or could not tell her things, right? Susan, obviously.
Yeah, the Red Court.
You know, like, Billy, like, all of the people in his, Michael,
but the
right?
biggest thing being the White Council she knows about now.
Yeah, no, but I was saying that now everybody in Dresden's world knows about, right?
Oh,
like,
okay.
Susan's a part of the supernatural. Like, she sort of knew about it, but...
Susan, Billy, Michael are all a part of it. But now Murphy is too.
And yeah, so
right.
that way...
okay, gotcha.
Right, so that way everybody's on, so they all kind of understand what it is.
It's,
But yes.
not quite the same, you know, tiptoeing around subjects that it had to be before, you know? It's like, it is easier when everyone can just lay all their cards on the table. And
No more
be
pig Latin needed.
Exactly. So, and then, yes, as you say, those are all the things that he tells her about.
Yeah.
How he started a war over Susan, how there is red courts and black courts, how there's a white council, yeah. And I love, and again, right, I think we all, you know, cheered for this one too, right? He's like, and most of all, I told her about the White Council. those spineless, arrogant, egomaniacal sons of bitches. Who do they think they are, selling out their own people? And Dresden's like, yes, thank you, right? And we are all like, yes,
vindication,
I know.
yes. They're assholes.
Vindication, validation, the whole yes, right? So
these two have probably circled this Walmart 89 times.
No, they're sitting at the cafe. I just said that's right. Canadian ones we would have to walk. They actually had a place to go sit down. Yeah, we would have circled this thing like 20 times.
I looked past that. Yes.
We would have been sitting on the bench next to the restrooms going, ugh.
Yeah, this was a long fucking talk.
Like I've been staring at that gumball machine for hours. I really wish that other one would just like finally fall off where it's been. Yeah.
So Murphy first she offers some advice, and she tells Dresden to find out why Rule got murdered.
Mm-hmm. But yes, he says that she has more experience with the homicide. She's like, well, duh. So she's like, okay, so yeah, and which is kind of funny. Like again, in case I'm like, I didn't get, but she's like, you need to find out why, and he's like, why what? And she's like, why he was murdered. And he's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, that's literally what you were just talking about. How did you not get that?
Well, okay, so as someone who watches a lot of fucking blah blah, I can't think of the actual word. Interrogations and things. Cops don't have to prove motive. They do not have to prove motive in order to prove a murder.
That's a court thing.
That's not a court thing.
Actually, I guess you don't even.
No one has to prove motive. That's not any part of the justice system.
Whether
it can help
it or not. Yeah.
You know, a jury, but it's not at any time in any part of the process needed. So the fact that Murphy, the cop, is like, well, you need to know why. That's like the first place. It's like I could understand. Like, it does help to be like, well, who would have gained the most out of this? Like, oh, the person who's going to get all the life insurance, or oh, the person who's going to get the business, or, right? But at the same time, it's like, at no point do you ever actually need a motive in any part of the justice system. I guess. So it's weird that she's, like, being like, you need to know why, first of all, like.
I was going to say, I guess you don't need to prove it. I'm like, if you can link a killer to a body, then that's why. But I mean, again,
I took it
in this case, it's like you don't have
to figure out who it is.
Yeah, you don't have the who, and exactly the same thing, right? It's like you come home and find someone on the floor, like, okay, well, does the husband have a reason to kill his wife, or does the milkman have a reason to kill? You know what I mean? Exactly, like that way.
But yes, so point is, Murphy here is like, you figure out the motive first, and that'll give you your leads, which is fair.
Murphy tells him that she's investigated armed robberies and abductions in the past few days that were likely his ghoul attacker. Mm-hmm. And Murphy deduces that she's the Tigress, a hired gun that's responsible for numerous killings.
Mm-hmm. And this is funny because, again, as I said, when Jess and I were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, like on the drive over here, and we were like, fuck Michael, like, she doesn't trust anyone. This was the other thing, and I had to sort of go back because I was like, at the start of this chapter, he's like, okay, I gotta go call Murphy. Calls Murphy, let's meet, 20 minutes. And I'm like, and then she's like, well, after you called me earlier tonight, she's like, I did some digging. So I found out about these like gas station robberies, and people were abducted, and I talked to the FBI and now Interpol, and it could be this person from, I'm like, how the fuck did you do any of this? Like you say, God knows what time of night, like you're at the 24-hour supercenter, so it's after 10, 11 o'clock, midnight.
Is she talking about just the 20 minutes ago that she called him?
This is what
Or would she talk to him earlier?
That was what, and I was like, there's no way, because he didn't talk to anybody else. He went, but yes, it was before he went out to burglarize the apartment and go to the funeral. That was those mysterious phone calls that he made. We're like, those aren't going to be important. Who knows who he talked to? You're right. I was like, oh, that's right. It was way, because, because we're like, he was at the apartment, and then he went to the funeral, and then he got smacked around by Meryl, and then he went and talked to Maeve, and then he found, like, he hasn't made any phone calls. But I was like, oh yes, way, way, way back at the start of this, after he talked to Bob, he made, which obviously one of them was like to Billy saying, get me a pizza and meet me at the funeral, and the other one must have been to Murphy to ask her to start looking right. But I'd completely forgotten about that at the time, and I was like, there's no way she could get, like, a quarter of this information since when he called her up. And I was like, okay, all that part, the attack in the park and everything like that all happened long before then, and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, it was just kind of funny, because I was like, because more goes on, right? She's like, I talked to some friends at the FBI, and I'm like,
oh, Harry and your secretive calls.
Yeah. So yes, I'm like, okay, fine, you've had the day to work on this.
Can I just say that Tigress is just a terrible name? That's awful.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I'm not. I guess it's supposed to sound kind of cool, and
it doesn't.
No.
For some reason, I think of like a Mucha Lucha sort of cheesy character, the Tigress.
Nacho Libre.
I've got, the tiger chick from Kung Fu Panda.
I was going to say, that's probably you, because she was Tigress. It's just Angelina Jolie.
Yes, that's much cooler.
Yeah, I don't love it. And this is kind of a little, like, again, we haven't encountered a lot of ghouls or things along, but she's like, any chance, like, the people she grabbed are alive? And he's like, no, she probably ate them. It's like, ew. Like, they can go through, like, 40 or 50 pounds of meat a day.
That's a lot.
That's a freaking lot. I'm like...
How many cheeseburgers is that?
Way too many. Way too... Right? You think of, like, a quarter pounder or something. I'm like, okay, I'm one of those people that generally eats... about like one main meal a day. Sometimes if other people are feeding me, I may have.
But so it's like 200 quarter pounders? Is my math right? Matt, is my math right?
It was so funny because I was just watching like a one-shot in Critical Role too, and the guy, they had to figure out like the combination for a padlock, and they're like, "What? I was promised there would be no math. Why do we have to?" And they're all trying to figure out what the numbers are important of.
I think that's a lot of meat.
Yeah, right. It's like a small child every day.
Do they get the meat sweats?
I guess maybe not if that's your normal intake, because we only get it if you like double and triple up on your. Right?
Maybe mythos, like the meat sweats is part of the mythos of ghoul. That's why they're so ugly looking.
Hideous and
constantly having the meat sweats.
So yeah, it's just not a nice. This is we don't like this person, this figure, this entity. So yeah, so then they're like, okay, so maybe who would have hired it? And she's like, well, my money's on the vampires. They stand the most, like they want to get rid of you the most right now. And he's like, okay, fair, but it seems kind of dumb. Like they just Pearl Harbored. The Archangel compound and killed, which is why, Ebenezer got on the council, because they took out Petrovic and all of his compound and everything like that. And he's like, it seems kind of like a dumb, like, why would they do that and then try and take, you know what I mean? Like, they got everybody really pissed off. Like, the whole White Council's going to come after them for this. So, yeah, but no. And then she's like, okay, but if you, win the passageway, if you figure this thing out for Mab and grant them access to the Never Never, then they're going to, right? Because right now, exactly, the vampires are counting on them having an easier time getting around than you guys are. So this is really going to offset that and put the wizards back in as an advantage, right? And he's like, true, but that hadn't happened yet. So it couldn't have been for that reason. And, so they're still trying to figure out... what that is. So she's like, I'll keep looking into it.
Is it case related? But
yeah,
she didn't have the case yet.
But it doesn't. Yeah, right. They can't find a connection to that, and it's kind of cute too. She's like, I wish I could use like a sketch. Get to know, obviously, like you say, they Interpol and everybody's been trying to, they're like they know about this person, but obviously nobody knows who she is enough to track her down. And he's like. Yeah, he's like, I really didn't pay that much attention to her at first, and she was in disguise anyways, and by the time I was, it was like just like something out of a Japanese horror movie.
In old age makeup on a fake face made up magical face thing.
Right? It's like old makeup on a fake young person that's not really a person, but it's really hiding the ghoul underneath anyways. It's like... Yeah.
Layers upon layers upon layers.
Yeah, nothing for you there, Murph.
This multifaceted ghoul.
Yeah. So she's like, all right, I'll see if I can come up with anything else interesting on that. But yeah, we have no idea if this is related, so moving on. So then she starts questioning him about the players, like his suspect list. So she's like, Maeve or whatever, and she's like, how sure are you? And he's like, pretty certain. He's like, and she's like, but not completely. And he's like, well, see, and again, this is where he's like, no, fairies are tricky like that. I'm like, then stop fucking believing them, Harry. But yeah, he's like, again, I just get the sense that she's like chaotic and impulsive and couldn't have pulled this off neatly, right? So she's like, okay, fair. And then she's like, what about Mab? And he's like, yeah, I don't get the feeling either, but I don't know why. And I like this. Murphy's like, I do. Like, she wouldn't have gotten somebody so competent, And like, again, right, for all his naysayers, right, like, again, the council, like, Morgan, like, why the fuck would they ask you? Like, right, but again, Murphy is somebody who's worked with him and is a friend and knows him.
Knows how tenacious he can be.
Respects his abilities, right? She's like, no, you are a good investigator, So she's like, yeah, Mab has half a brain about her, which presumably running a supernatural nation she does. Especially vicious ones like this. Like, you don't get to stay in power if you're dumb. So, she's like, it would have been exactly how tenacious. And, it's like, you don't know the meaning of the word give up, dolt, or idiot, or whatever she calls him, Dolt, yeah. But it's like, so it's kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, cool, thanks, Murph. But again, does, again, gives us an easy way to rule him out, right? Because, like, well, of course, Harry would figure it out. So, yeah.
And it boosts Dresden's self-esteem, too.
Exactly,
Oh, good.
Right? But, yeah, exactly. I'm like, it really does make a fair point, because you're right, Map could have, again, she look at all this manipulation in the grand scheme of things, but on the whole, exactly, Map could have got anybody. So, yeah, why get the best if you're trying to cover something up?
Yeah, Murphy then asks about the Summer Lady and the Winter Knight. Aurora's being kind of
nicer than
she's too kind.
Yeah. Or that was just kinder than any fairy I've ever met.
And the Winter Knight is being too quick to action to have pulled it off. Just too irrational.
Yeah, and again, it gives you a nice little sum up of his characterization too. He's like, he's a violent, vicious heroin addict. He's like, I can see him doing it, but again, I just don't know if he'd have the savvy to like pull off stealing the magic and hiding it away and stuff like that. It was like, oh yeah, he'd do it in a heartbeat. That's not a question, but it's like the other parts of it.
And of course, dummies that Harry is and we are. He was instantly, hey Maeve, did you kill Ronald? Hey Slate, did you kill Ronald? Forgot to ask Aurora when he finally figured out it was Aurora.
Right. Oh yeah, I guess he did do that.
After all that, he was like, la 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 la.
Yeah, I guess.
Just
too
too
busy
nice. I can't
thinking about Elaine,
Well, yeah, that's it, right? He had kind of other things. She did kind of sneak in on him there. It wasn't the interview he planned to have that he was going to set up and go in. It was, right, an incidental. So, yeah. Plus, I do get it. Like, yes, they're on his list, but again...
Why would they kill their own guy?
Right now, he has nothing to give him any sort of inkling or reason as to why someone yes, they could have, but why would they?
Which is extra funny when it gets followed up here that he's like, well, then I still don't really have any leads. I guess I'm going to have to go talk to my godmother. Marcel, like, you have a godmother? I'm like, that didn't come up at all.
Seriously?
You're explaining Justin and all that, and she didn't come up at all.
Oh, I guess yes, in this part of the conversation, I was like, well, it wouldn't have before, but yes, just right now with everything else.
You have a godmother? And I'm like,
no. You have a fairy godmother, yeah. So who knows? Maybe he did say something about his godmother, just neglected to mention that part of it. But yes.
I don't know. Because that part of it is pretty much the whole reason she's involved in the Justin
we wouldn't have had this great line otherwise. So it's like, Harry knows how to sell, right? He's like, he knows how to set it up. He was just waiting for this. Because he's like, I'm going to have to get some kind of guide to take me there, right? So which gives her the obvious conclusion when he says, my God. It's like, wait, you have a fairy godmother? He's like, yeah, don't ask. It's not what he is. Not all is made out to be. Cinderella lied.
I like this moment too, though, when things get scary and the mist comes rolling in and people start slumping over and Murphy's just like, Harry, what's happening?
And I do like it is because a little bit like we talked before. Murphy is bad. Like, she doesn't just come across as badass. Murphy is badass. Yeah. Like, she walks the walk. She doesn't just talk the talk. But again, seeing her vulnerability in this book and how and by the way,
both of them trust each other.
I trust each other. I would also like to go back to that. So we were like way back when he goes to see her and she's taking the pills and the booze because she can't sleep at night and blah 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 blah. And it sort of didn't click with me at the time when we discussed that chapter story, but I was like, well, hang on, wait a minute. Because I think part of it is, too, we were discussing it last one where we're talking about Harry having his bad dreams or getting eaten by Susan in his dream, and we're like, why does Harry dream anymore? He should just, like, knock himself out every night and forget. And I'm like, why didn't he do that for Murphy? Like, she didn't tell him about it beforehand, but when he shows up that day and is all worried about, he's like, you seem awful suicidal, taking pills and booze and stuff like that. And she's like, no, I'm like, why did you not be like, I'm going to whip you up a sleeping pill? That coma I put you in, that dreamless sleep right after, I'm going to get you some more of that until, or at least just some like, I don't know, I kind of assuming that, your magical would be better possibly than you're mixing booze and drugs. I don't really know what kind of effect that has on you long term, but a little sleeping draft just so she doesn't have to take like the Vicodin and the gin together. She can just, at least get to sleep even if you're not.
When he has time to put his powers towards that, he can do it, but right now he needs them for some other shit.
But he wasn't quite this far in the shit quite yet. He didn't know the whole scope of it when he went to talk to her right away. So I was like, you should have at least mentioned it. Be like, I can't do this right now, but I should totally. Like, bad friend, Harry, bad friend.
Yeah.
Go get Murphy some mystical sleeping aids.
Yeah. I do like, though, that he just starts grabbing the salt shakers off the tables, though. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
Come with me.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, shit, what? And I like it. He's like, my heart just like, the lights go out, and Harry's like, oh, shit.
Yep.
And then it's like the generator lights come on, but he's still like, yeah.
No.
But yeah, he's like, I just start grabbing salt. I'm like, trouble, let's go.
It's just like very Supernatural, the TV show to me, though. He's like, all right, grab the salt shakers. I'm like, all right.
I thought of that too.
Was, yes, like, they did everything was fucking grab the salt.
Every single episode.
I just was waiting for him to whip out a shotgun.
I was
with
going to say, shotgun and salt, let's go.
you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us to do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at www.patreon.com/freeflowrambling.
Chapter 19. Harry and Murphy find themselves under attack and start dividing Wal-Mart into useful potion and spell opportunities. They run into Mr. Untouchable, and things get worse.
The best part about Harry and Murphy being both in the know now, or I guess just Murphy being in the know now, is that they can have fun, super back and forth about, like, there's such thing as illegal magic. Who the fuck enforces that? And we can have those fun conversations. So yes, Harry's like, I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it's a mind fogged, but they're illegal, so I don't know.
She's he's like, I don't know anything about them because they're illegal.
Sort of made me think of Men in Black and the Neuralizer.
Yeah.
But the magical form.
Pretty much. Except,
like, oh, it's illegal. Who says it's illegal? It says the laws of magic. You didn't say anything about the laws of magic. There's a lot to go through, Murphy.
Yeah. It's like,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
We get through this, we'll come back. I promise. So he's kind of like, it's okay, because they're looking, right? And, like, people are kind of like, what the fuck? Like, why is this fog suddenly coming into the store kind of a thing? And then you notice as soon as it touches someone, that, they kind of slump over.
They get the dumbs.
They get the right? And he's like, it's probably okay. Like, I think they'll be fine once, the fog clears, that, it's not really doing anything to them. It's just, like you say, just making them go off to La La Land and be useless. So he's like, I'm sure they'll be fine once, and once we're gone, there's no reason to hurt them. So, he's like, I can't be worried about all these people, like, wandering around the bottom. I'm just gonna have to assume they're all gonna be fine, Murphy. Let's just go.
Pretty presumptuous that they're here for you and not for, like, the men in black in the bathroom.
the brain jars.
The mole people.
The mole people from Klaatu Nebula, exactly right.
The parafigure that might be an ambush in back. Murphy's fortunately carrying her Colt 911.
Yeah.
Old reliable.
Reliable. He's like, you got a gun? She's like, duh.
Yeah. Revolver would be even better. Why don't I just throw rocks and sharp sticks while I'm at it, Tex?
I know.
Auto bigot. Like that. Like the little back and forth.
And I have to say, I have obviously re-listened to this part a lot in the last, because again, we never know exactly sometimes how many episodes we're going to get through in a day, right? So we prep, like half a dozen chapters, and right, so sometimes it's like I'll go over the same few chapters for a couple of weeks in a row because we wouldn't have gotten that far. And then again, a lot of times, like I say, I'll put it on like going to sleep or whatever, that little osmosis, just let it fly, But it's like, I swear this like literally got into my dreams last night because I can't really, but just remember this scene of like talking to like this whole thing of her playing out with the, why don't I just throw like sticks and sharp rocks, Tex, and like I was like, oh my god, it was so weird because I sort of had it going in the car on the drive over. I was like, oh wait, I have very different visuals for this. I was like, and like people playing the parts. It was really kind of funny. I'm like, hey, I've been listening to these chapters a little too much now. But yes, it's very cute, the auto bigot, and the, like, why don't I just fucking throw sticks at them, okay? Like, is this not,
Harry tries the employee area only as an exit, but finds again more mist blocking the way.
Yeah, right.
So it looks like there's no escaping the mist. They can only defend against it.
Yeah, and this is the other thing, is that it's kind of sweet too. I don't know if it's here in a minute or something like that, but they do pass a couple of people, and like there's this one like old man kind of just here and Dresden's like, why don't you just sit down before you fall down, sir? I don't really have time to deal with all you were worried about you, but just have a seat here. Okay, let's go, Murph. But yeah, it's literally coming in from like everywhere as they're in the aisles. That's coming, so it's no longer just coming from the front and oozing through the store. It's coming in from the front, it's in from the back, it's in from the right. So yeah, it really limits where they can go and what they can do. They can't just sort of run in one direction and stay ahead of it, right? Mm-hmm. So he decides that
they're going to run down the parts aisle, and Harry quickly uses a protection circle using the stolen salt shakers.
Yeah, he's like, now would be time for some magic-y stuff. So they run down, decide they're going to do their little protection circle thingy, and it's cute because Murphy is starting to get nervous. Again, this is where some of it, like, she knows, but because of her very, very recent, very, very traumatic Right, he's like, hey, I'm just gonna make a circle, and she's all like, yeah, and he's like, hey, are you paying attention? Like, you need to, like, focus here, because if you step out on this circle, we're kind of fucked. Make sure you stay in here, like, you're paying attention to what I'm doing, right? And she's kind of like, oh, wow, she's like, is this like a force field? And he's like, kind of, but again, as we've learned before, he's like, only against magic. He's like, it's useless if somebody comes in with a gun, like, they can totally shoot straight through us, right? So she's just like, oh, great, okay. So then she's all like, well, what are we going to do here? So he's like, I can kind of look after myself. I think I got that covered. But he's like, I'm going to have to make a little charm for you. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to need some hair or whatever, right? And it's kind of cute. She kind of like gives him a look, but then she just like yanks out some hair and gives it to him anyways.
Dresden starts another charm, during which he consoles a terrified Murphy, but also threatens to make fun of her every day, which seems to calm her down.
Yeah.
Yeah, this very cute moment there.
Very, very cute.
The banter that keeps.
But what I liked is Dresden finishes this memory charm protection by twisting hair around around her left finger so she won't forget. He does say the left side is the side that takes in energy. Yeah. And this is actually very sort of neo-pagan. Like, this is taken really from Wiccan sort of.
I think a lot of,
because the left side is supposed to bring in energy, and the right side sends energy out. It's based on like the dominant hand being the right hand. But I liked that how Butcher has sort of taken sort of these established rules for Wiccan stuff, and he's done this in the past too. Mm-hmm.
Well,
and he draws it in again.
Like all magic,
pulls from all kinds of little, and yes, he has specifically talked about the side that draws in and the side that directs out and stuff like that. But yeah, again, right, melding all these worlds or all these bits and pieces from all the different worlds.
It makes it a little more believable in some ways to me.
Well, it is, right?
Because it's using an established world.
Yeah, and that's, again, I think what we like is, like you say, there are all these things in our world, right? And so, again, just like you say, just that.
I mean, even tying a string around your finger so you don't forget.
That's the part that part I love so much, that she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, it works on your mind and waking up. So he's like, I'm just going to tie a string around your finger so you don't forget. And I'm like, oh, and especially because it's such an old thing. Like, most of us, even the millennials, apparently, Jessica is familiar with this concept of tying a string. So, but I'm like, it's not something anybody ever does anymore, right? It's obviously not a thing we actually.
The Discord was surprised I even knew what a landline was.
I know. Well, can you blame them? They're like, how many things have we brought up that you're like,
In my mid-20s, guys, I was alive before the 21st century happened.
I know, but I mean, it's seriously, I can't remember what it was the one day where we came up with something that you, I swear, had like never heard of. You're like, that's not really a thing. And we're like, yes. And then, yeah, exactly. Then you're like, well, I totally owned a VCR and had to and it's like, it's so hard to tell sometimes how much is like you and your era, how much is stuff that was a part of my life and therefore I made part of your life, like. It is. It's funny sometimes what you do and don't know. But anyways, yes. But exactly, just all these, I mean, even things like paper boys, I'm like, paper boys don't really exist anymore. Like, as somebody who
I guess not.
They don't. As somebody who's done that job in the last, decade or two or something like that, I did pick up a side. And I'm like, it's really difficult to be a kid on a bike. Like, even, I remember one of my older brothers, as a teenager, his very first job was a paper route. And I remember him, like, laughing and talking about, like, how much money he was going to be rolling. Because, of course, by that point, he walked around and delivered the papers, and he walked around and collected the cash for them. And him coming home to, like, me and my sister with, like, handfuls of cash and being like, ha, 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 right? But as an adult in my 20s or 30s or whatever, I last did a paper route. It's so much because not as many people, right? It's not just like your neighborhood. You're doing like 6 neighborhoods, and there's like 3 on this block and 2 on that block and 1. So you had to have a car because you would do 2 or 3 houses in a row, or maybe like even half a dozen. And then you would drive over a couple of blocks and do, right? So I was like, it's really, and nothing is like, you don't go door to door and collect from anybody anymore. It was either, people had checks, or they would write in, or they would like email it in. And because it used to be, you basically bought the newspaper, so you collected all the money and then paid the newspaper back for how many papers you sold and kept the rest. Now it's like everybody pays the newspaper, so the newspaper is actually paying you out. Like, it's really funny. But I was like, but it's still an iconic thing where you see, like, in the movies, you still see a kid riding his bike down the street and flinging a newspaper, when at least the reality in my world is that's not a thing anymore. It really does not happen.
So Murphy is like, I've never really seen you do it.
I've never seen you do it before.
Cute moment.
I won't hurt you. I know what I'm doing.
But I was also a little bit surprised that she hasn't seen him actually work magic at all before, because they worked together quite a bit, and with the
Loop Guru,
the Kravos, or
I guess
wouldn't he have done something in front of her with the?
I think it's almost different between seeing like the different components that go into it versus him just throwing his arm out and things going boom.
Yeah,
it's almost like the difference between like like I don't know, like watching
I think for me, a little bit, I take it like she was there, but again, she was busy doing her other, like at Kravos, she was busy running around, rounding up victims and arresting abettors or whatever the word I'm looking for is, right? And like with the loop guru, you know, like, yeah, she saw him like swinging his medallion around and like going, you know, but she was busy facing this thing and like concentrating on like going up against it and her part of it, right? So I'm like, I wonder if it's more just that, like she's been around him doing, but it's more the peripheral. She hasn't just been able to sit and watch as he does something, you know, is maybe more what it was about. And yeah, like say watching him just kind of pull this together on the fly, right? Because I'm like, this was not something prepared for, you know, but he's just like, oh, we're gonna do this and this, and I need a piece of your hair and I need this, and okay, let's go.
So Dresden embraces his pentacle in his left hand, and they break the circle after the memory charm was all complete. And they make their way through the garden center. So fortunately, all of the charms,
they work.
I know. That's the other thing, right? She's like, okay, we should be good to go. She's like, wait, you should? It's like, you don't know? And he's like, well, I mean, you know, in theory. And she's like, yeah, that's what I love working about. You know, that's what I love about working with you, Dresden. She's like, the certainty. But she's all like, okay, I'm willing to trust you. I'm willing to put my faith in you. Like, you're gonna. He's like, yeah, we probably, maybe, might be okay. She's like, what? Like, how do we know? Well,
and then when they step out,
if we don't die, it works.
And when they step out of it, and he's like, it feels greasy, it feels cold. For a second there, it almost gets him before it like peters out through the spell. And he turns to Murphy, and he's like, "How are you doing?" She's like, "I'm fine." He's like, "I'm fucking awesome."
Yeah, she's like, it doesn't feel like anything. But I like it too, because she's like, because when he first puts it up and whatever, doesn't she's like, well, maybe we should just, because, you know, that's it, the mist catches up with them, and when she sees it, like, all stop around the thing and stuff, and he's like, hey, well, now we have to maybe go out there and see, and she's like, well, maybe we should just stay here. He's like, you're kidding, right? And she's like, oh, fine. Because it was like, yes, fine, you're protected, like you say, in this moment, but, yeah, it's almost always followed up by somebody coming along with a big gun, or a big knife, or a big bat, and, you know, it's like, we can't just sit here. She's like, ugh. But yes, I do, again, that whole moment where he does sort of take the piss out of her a little bit and sort of brings her, right? She says she sort of gets that, like, relief and that, you know, that annoyance. It's like, you know, I'm holding a gun, right? But I just, the visuals, he's like, I'm going to tie frilly aprons to your cards. Shake it, baby.
You know I'm holding a gun, right? Because as soon as they start going, he's like, she had the gun, she goes first. I'm like, you're another 1.5 feet above her. Like, great, now they can get both of you at once.
There is that, you're right. But he does say, I think here in another class, is that, in all fairness, Murphy's the better. Like, he has a gun, but...
Of course she's the better shot,
he's
but...
nowhere near the trained marksman that she is as a cop and whatever. But I know it is, yeah, you're right, it's funny that... Yeah, it's like, yeah, let's put the little person out in front so you're both easy targets, yeah.
Yep, they're making their way until Harry's suddenly feels like something's wrong.
Spider senses are tingling.
Yeah, right. And see, again, this is that fine line between having to tell you everybody that's around and just making them background characters. Because he's like, oh, we passed a little old man, we passed a couple people, and we passed another lady. Wait a minute.
That last lady looked familiar.
Something tweaked.
What do you look like? An old lady makeup, ma'am?
Wait, there was a touch extra detail added there. She had a dirty smock and a pair of shears. That must mean something.
Yes, the dazed employee turns out to be the tigress.
Not so dazed at all.
Attacking Dresden with pruners.
Yeah. Oh,
gross.
Big fucking shears. Yeah.
I guess the advantage for tigers being wholly unremarkable and average-looking in every sense.
So that Murphy shoots the tigress as the tigress tries to kill Harry with some shears.
Yeah, this is kind of a nice... So yeah, so he just suddenly realized... So it's kind of... I get it, but I sort of don't, because as he passes, it sort of tweaks, like you say, his spidey sense, and he shoves Murph out of the way and kind of goes lunging past her, which I'm like, I guess, I don't know why he didn't move to the side or stop him, but whatever, this is his choice. So she's, swinging the shears at him, so she ends up hitting him in the back, but he's got his duster and stuff. But while he's down, now she's coming to, like, stab the fuck out of him with these things, and he's like... You know, again, this is the roll, the dice roll here, because he's you know, again, because he didn't make a charm for himself, which I sort of get, but also I'm like, wouldn't that have been easier then? It's like a concentration spell. Why didn't you just do a charm for yourself? Because Murphy doesn't have to do shit about hers. It's just working. But he has to, right, like, just by concentrating and putting that distraction out, he's filtering out that spell ongoing. Plus, then he's like, I didn't quite, you know, so between being suddenly, like, attacked and trying to keep the spell up for not getting this, I'm like, I couldn't quite have my shield spell up in time, right? And I'm like, it just seems easier, Harry. Like, why would you have, like, 10 concentration spells up at once? But yeah, so he couldn't manage to save himself, so Murphy comes in. So while the tigress is busy trying to do her attack on him, Murphy comes in and does her super cool Aikido ninja warrior cop training. And, like, disables, like her gun arm or whatever.
I like that she tries to put her under arrest. You're under arrest.
I know! It's like, all this is going on. You're like, Murphy, you're so badass. Then you get to this moment and you're like, really?
Still looks human, though, at this point, at least, you know?
Well, I guess Murphy,
Tiger still looked like a shop assistant that just suddenly attacked him with prunes.
This is fair. She did. Yeah, I guess she didn't really start changing until Murphy. Okay. Yeah. Because, I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, did we not learn our lesson with the Loup Garou? Did we not learn our lesson with Krabos? You cannot fucking put supernatural shit in jail. Yeah, but you're
got
right.
a really good point.
Yes. That.
Still a human, right? At this moment.
She doesn't know that.
I was having a hindsight is 20/20 moment.
Yeah.
The problem is that once she tries to arrest her, she goes ghoul, and that's when Murphy freezes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Only briefly, though.
Yeah, because the ghoul is a dumbass.
Wants to do the evil villain speech.
Has never watched a movie or read a book, although it's a ghoul, so, probably never have read a book in their life. But,
Watch one movie.
Yeah. Taste this, bitch.
Every time you try to insult them to make it worse, that's always, you just light the fire under them.
I don't know what bullets are made out of, but I can't imagine it'd be very tasty. Lead? Silver? No,
They used to be lead. I don't think they are. Yeah, only in special occasions. Yeah. I don't know that they're still made of lead.
Copper? Bronze? I don't know what is a good alloy for a bullet.
I don't know, because you always hear about, like, copper jacketed, but then I don't know if it's still just a bunch of crap wedged in there. I do not know enough about bullets. Sorry.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Maybe she's still toting around the silver ones,
She only had those tiny pair of earrings. I still maintain that she didn't have enough for the Loup Garou, let alone leftovers, okay? Not buying it.
But she's had a lot of time to melt down a lot of other family heirlooms, too.
Just, you know what? A silver bullet will kill a regular person.
The last family reunion, she, pickpocketed everyone.
So, Mom, Grandma's silverware. Can I just get it now? Although, actually, Murphy, now that we mention it, because we just established at the start of this book that Murphy lives in her grandma's old home. It hasn't changed much. I'm like,
she had a
you
lot
probably had the whole damn silverware set, Murphy, unless you got the house and that got given to someone else. No. But it's like, yeah. So yes, and Harry's like, oh fuck. And then she's like, ha ha, ooh, a cop, are you going to arrest me? Murphy's like, all right, fuck you. That's the way you want to play this, fine.
Lovely moment.
And just, unloads a clip in her.
It just vaguely reminds me of the Aliens moment where she's, put her down, bitch.
I'm not familiar enough with, other than, I'm sorry, I still haven't seen those movies.
Let her go, you bitch.
Right.
Taste this, bitch.
Right, yeah.
So she empties her entire clip into the ghoul. And not only that, but she, takes out another one. And
she gets, and I'm like, this is what I like. Like, Murphy's like, well, I'll arrest them if and when I can, and I'll make them. But she also understands when you've gone next level and stuff like that, too, right? She's like, yeah, I'm not just gonna, shoot her in the kneecap and be like, stay. I know I gotta, put her down and keep her down, kind of, right? Murphy's seen enough now with the Loup Garous and the this and that, exactly, right?
No double tap's gonna work at this time. Just keep going.
Yeah, and I don't remember where it came from. I don't know if it's something Murphy says at some point in this book or some other show or something. But I remember, because, we always talk about that in the movies. We're like, oh, just shoot him in the knee so they can't do it. And somebody making this reference, and I think it is Murphy. She's like, when a cop aims, they shoot to kill, kind of. We don't generally aim to take out an elbow or some bullshit like that. She's like, if a cop fires their weapon, right? So it's kind of that, too, right? That, I say, I don't know where I got that from, but I was like...
I don't recognize that from the books.
No.
Maybe it's not somewhere. I was thinking one of the later ones, but I just feel like somewhere that has come up and has been a thing, right? But it makes sense, yeah, and maybe it's a real life thing and not something, but so anyway, so basically, exactly right, she's not fooling around, she's not just trying to detain or deter, or it's just it's once she opens fire, she goes, and Jasmine's like, it's not like in the movie, she doesn't get pushed back, it's shit just rips through her, she just gets shredded by these bullets. And it's gross. You just see the little dewdrops of blood on the ferns.
Gross.
Yeah.
And then, now that she's all been torn apart and is about to die, she's all like, wait, I give up. Please.
Sorry.
Shut up.
Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about...
I wasn't really going to eat you.
Let's talk about my history with Interpol across the whole world.
Right.
So yeah, I like that Murphy then goes to load a second clip and start tearing it on her, right?
It's she's not learned lesson. I'm not falling for this
if
bitch.
You can still beg and plead, you can still kill me, so...
Yeah, right? We're not... Which is even, I say, when Harry starts going through this shit with Aurora and stuff in the last chapter, and when he finally realizes, and she's been stringing it along, he's all this, and she's like, well, I kind of want to know. So he's like, fine, talk. I'm like, you've just been sitting here, you're tired, you're exhausted, you want to get on with shit, you're tired of hearing them talk, and yet you will still be like, okay, Maeve, sure, let's hear your bargain.
Yeah.
What do you want? Okay, Aurora, let's hear what. I'm like, I get we need it for the plot, but yeah, Murphy's like, nah, I don't need to hear a word. You a damn word you have to say.
I don't know if I brought it up before during the podcast or if it was just in the Discord, but I was telling them all that I wanted to watch Due South, which is about a Canadian cop going to Chicago to, be a cop. He's basically chasing down his father's murderer, but obviously every episode is his own wacky adventure.
Yeah.
But my favorite episode is when they get locked into a bank vault, and the robbers keep trying to. The robbers are trying to rob the bank vault, but the two the Chicago cop and the Canadian cop lock themselves in the vault first. So then the robbers are like, let us in here, like let us in so we can get the money, and then we'll leave all these hostages and go or whatever like that, right?
It'll be fine,
right? And so the Chicago cop keeps trying to answer the phone to make a bargain with him. The Canadian cop keeps hanging up, and he's like, "Fuck, they're gonna kill all those hostages out there if you don't let us make the bargain." And the Canadian cop keeps going, "No, if they can't make the bargain, they can't do shit. They can't offer us anything or threaten us anything.
Yeah.
As long as we don't make contact with them, they can't make any demands."
Yeah.
So I like how it's like,
so it does them no good to start killing people if they can't.
Murphy's Murphy's not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna keep shooting. I don't need to listen to your bargain and let you convince me of anything.
I do not negotiate with terrorists.
Exactly.
But yes, as she gears up to continue, all of a sudden, Dresden starts paying attention again and not just watching the awesome chick fight and Murphy kick ass. But he's like, ooh, on your right. And before she gets to do any more damage, she's got to spin out of the way of more incoming. And fucking little ghoul fucking slithers out of there. But yes, all of a sudden she's got a hoe coming down at her head and like smashing on the concrete floor of the garden center. That's the word I'm looking for. I was about to be like patio. I guess not a patio, the garden center.
And look who returned.
Mr. Grum.
He's back.
Mr. Untouchable.
So she's got to go all in defensive runaway mode because he just kind of keeps taking swings at her. He like tries to take her head off with a shovel and so she's like she's like running away. I like this. She picks up like a 20-gallon ceramic pot and throws it like a snowball.
That's aggressive.
Yeah. So she finds a nice stack of, which you gotta say, thank you Wal-Mart for leaving all your pallets and shit piled up and around to the side, because Murphy would have had a lot less cover if it wasn't for those.
Luckily, though, Harry manages to get his mind back enough to grab a bunch of marbles and dump them all over the floor.
So maybe I can crushed.
Yeah,
I know. He's like, oh great, there's all these. It's like, let me just try. The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
That's a lovely little cliche moment. That is not a cliche moment.
No,
like that.
Let's just go back 2 pages. The bullets didn't drive her back. That's for comic books and TV. These marbles, however.
Right? Surely this will work. So he's like, well, fuck. So now he's just got to run. So he's like running deeper into the garden center, being chased, and he can hear Murphy again, and he's trying to like keep count of her rounds and run away and keep his spells up. And
somebody's now shooting at the entrance or the exit with the rifle.
Now he hears rifle, which again, it brings an interesting point, because with our garden centers, they are fully enclosed. You cannot exit out through the garden centers because you still have to funnel your way back and go up the main tills.
That's not true at all.
No, they have separate entrances. Some of them do.
They've got.
Do they?
Yeah. They're all the garden center inside the store. Okay, so where we live, it can get to -40. And so there is an indoor garden center.
Yes.
And that can be closed off for like the 8 months of the year that there is no outside world. But during the 4 or so months that we have spring and summer, those doors open up into a fenced-off area, and that fenced-off area is easily broken through to the outside world.
They'll set up tills there too.
Yeah,
like I didn't think you could actually.
They've got like trees and flowers and shit. It's all.
I understand. I am aware of, and you say that backwards because the indoor center is open all the time, and the added on outdoor part of the garden center is what's closed in the winter.
That's what I'm saying. But indoor part is open 8 months of the year, and for like the 4 months we have to do other stuff, there's an outdoor portion.
You said that backwards. You said it was closed. But anyways, regardless.
Play back the tapes.
But okay, maybe some of them, not all of them, because I have been in some where you are still enclosed and you cannot. So they might still have like a till at the entrance to it or whatever, so you don't have to go through them. You can go and buy your 1 packet of seeds and leave, but it does not have an exit to the outside world through there.
The majority that I've been in are easily exitable to the parking lot.
Oh, okay, well then there we go. I take it all back.
And American
They had a way out here.
Must be.
Okay, it's gotta be a fact. So yeah, he hears rifle fire coming back, and And she's like, Harry, there's somebody else with a gun. And he's like, I'm kind of busy here. And she's like, well, what is that? And he's like, fairy again. He's like, no need to be diplomatic. He's already trying to kill me. He's a big, dumb, ugly fairy. I was like, well, fair. Take your shots where you can get him, I guess. Like you say, how much worse is it going to get?
Just poke the bear.
He's got a fair point. Like, he's already trying to kill me, so really.
And don't teach Murphy respect in the face of these things.
That's right. This is what, I mean, in all fairness, that's a lot of where, I mean, it does get him into trouble, but it also, like, gives him small advantages because it does throw them off. Like, why are you not bowing and groveling and being scared? And they're like, oh, yeah, wait, no, I need to. It doesn't always buy him a lot of time, but it gives him a second.
I can't remember. It was, like, either a book series or a TV series or something where, like, yeah, like, the main character was often counting the rounds, whatever, like that. It's just they always knew, like, oh, you're only gonna have 6 bullets, you're only gonna have 10, and I can never remember now what it was, but every time he does, like, something like this, I'm like, fuck, who is that character?
Was that?
It was like, I don't know, like, their character trait, like, they just knew guns so well that they were always just like, you've only got 3 shots left, so they just, like, as soon as they knew the other guy was out, they just start walking down the middle of the hallway again. They'd be like, I know you're out, motherfucker. Right?
I have no idea.
I can't think of what it is, though, so if anyone else out there remembers.
Not something that we have.
Well, there's a very typical, like, people who actually do have
guns would know, right?
They do keep track of the gun. They don't actually dry shoot their guns.
Yeah.
Yes, so. But I think it's more just in the face of all that you can keep track of, like, what the other guy is. Yeah. That's more. I mean, yeah.
When
I
it's your job, though,
but
because it's like you get stupid traits when you do stuff all the time. Like my store, like I pretty much always know when I'm alone at work or not because of the amount of time the door dings. You just get very used to, like, it ding 7 times, so I know there's one person in the store. 3 people came in, 3 people left. There's still that 4th ding that I've got to account for, or. If, like, you hear it, like, go off, like, way too many times than you're used to, you know it's someone just, like, checking, keeps looking outside, walking in front of the sensor. Like, I know, it's really hard to tell, but I'm very rarely wrong now about the number of people in my store, even if I've had a flux of, like, 20 in and 20 out. Like, it's very easy. Yes. Like, you just, like, subconsciously know, like, I know the dings have added up. I'm good right now, like, right? Like, no one else is here with me.
I can memorize password after doing IT. I can memorize people's passwords almost
instantly,
off the first bat. Yeah,
there's just something about, like,
can't remember any of these books, but I can remember the passwords.
He's like, I'm gonna have to come back here in 3 days and log into your shit again, so I'm just gonna hang on to this. Yeah, nope, for sure.
So I was like, I could see how law enforcement or other people in that field would
I guess
they're just subconsciously counting shots.
I was going to say you are trained again to handle those heights, soldiers and stuff, to be able to keep track of shit when...
Yeah. So Dresden keeps running through the garden center trying to get away from Grum because Grum's now chasing him.
Yes.
And then Grum does actually something very smart for an ogre, and which is just completely closed the gates. And so he's locked in now. And he's quite smug about it too.
Right? Yeah, right? Stops long enough to grin about it too.
I know, and it's kind of funny because he is in the meantime doing a little bit of the, like, because he knows, okay, fairy, he can, so he's like flinging shit off the, trying to swipe stuff off the shelves and stuff like that to, again, like trip him up or get in his, like you typically see in every action movie where, it's always in like a restaurant or hotel and they're throwing like food carts in front of people and like swiping. So yeah, he's trying to find anything steel that he can use against it, and it's just not happening. And then all of a sudden he finds himself in that nice little gated, chained off portion.
So it is a smart trap, locking him into the garden center here, and I like the whole, again, another villain speech, you lose, ha ha ha.
Who do you work for? You'll never find out, ha ha.
You'll die not knowing. If I had a nickel.
I like how he does briefly consider Never Never. He's like, all right, jump in there maybe, but, you're already dealing with the
Still a little gun shy on that one.
Yeah. Could be out of the frying pan into the fire, or worse, could be the whole time fuckery shit, and I really can't afford that.
And he'd be bailing on Murphy if he does that too.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would kind of assume he's going to come back or, like, hopefully just come out on the other side of it or something. But yeah, exactly right. Depending on how long and what he encounters, that exactly he's leaving her up the creek.
And it, like, especially sucks too because they're separated. They can only scream out to each other, so it's like the bad guys just get to hear their plan as they make
exactly.
it. Right? It's like, save yourself.
Hey, Murph, I'm gonna sneak up behind him. Okay, make sure he's distracted. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. It was a kind of nice moment where he's like, get out, save yourself, and she's like, not without you.
Which is like great, but it's kind of a little bit one of those moments like, no, seriously, I actually can save myself right now. You just need to get the fuck out. You do not wait for me. That's gonna cause problems, Yeah. But like you say, not really in a place to have that discussion easily. Yeah, so now he's like, okay, well, I'm in here, but he's like, it is just the chain link fence and stuff like that.
Easily
like,
climbable.
I can probably climb out of this and deal with the barbed wire. Like, it sucks, but okay.
Yeah.
right? So yeah, kind of, weighs his option, looks around, whatever, right? So he's like, okay, I'm just gonna take a bunch of this shit and start piling it up so I can get up there. Which, again, I don't know, how tall are those fences usually?
I think he says in this book it's like 9 feet up.
Yeah, but are they normally? Is that about right for
I don't know. I don't know heights, but I know that it's much, much taller than me. Like probably 2 or 3 of me.
But isn't this like a 9-foot ceiling? Like that?
Is it?
Ish?
Usually, I think that's kind of the standard for a house, right? Or something,
so,
right?
I mean, that's how tall the gate would be?
Because I'm trying to remember, I'm like, are they?
Doesn't he say that it's got wire or something?
It's got barbed wire.
Do you want to drive past the Walmart after this?
We're going to have one. Actually, I do need to grab a couple things. We might have to make that stop on the way home. And I'm just, like, I know, and part of me is like sometimes when you're on the inside, sometimes they are the great big huge structures that are almost like tent-like or whatever with the whole. Sometimes it is just a fence, and I'm like, is it usually that much more than like a 6-foot fence? Is it only like a 7
for sure,
or something?
no.
Is it definitely like way more?
They're definitely more than that.
Okay.
Like what he's describing is very accurate, but like the only thing that's missing from his is that ours are usually covered in like blue paper as well. It's like blue paper strung between every link.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't look into it.
You can't see through it or whatever, yeah, but...
And it might have like a shelf in front of it too. I don't know.
Yeah. There are shelves in here, I guess, just not up again. I was just trying to think, right, because I'm trying to envision, I'm like, he would almost be at the top, like, how much does he have to climb? Like 7 foot, you know what I mean? Like, that was the only thing I'm like, I was trying to envision, I'm like, are they like the big, massive, like 9-10 foot fences? Or, because normally...
I would say 9-10, yeah.
We are not cutting Butcher any slack here,
are we? No.
We're just, like, right in the details.
It's more just because it's like, I have a Walmart, I know what this looks like.
Even better, the podcast...
We've gone to Walmart, and we measured the size of those fences, and they are actually 8.5 feet and have no barbed wire.
Podcast didn't exist when he wrote these first several books. So he's like, no one's ever going to analyze this shit. It's fine.
Whatever. A book club is like 4 people in a basement.
Yeah, who the fuck cares? No, fuck you, Butcher.
Yes, I'm not trying to nitpick it for that reason as such. It was more just like really, right? I was like, I'm just thinking, I was like, would it really be that hard? Like, he would almost be as tall as it. Because normally,
he's like, tall when it's convenient that he's tall, and he's short when it's convenient that he's short.
There you go. I get it. Because, I was like, for most
suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just more like I say, for most of us, like, a 7-foot fence would be plenty tall enough to keep. I would have
There's
to, like,
an ogre in this.
it.
Who cares about the fence? Shut up about the fairy! Shut up about the fairy! How the fuck does a Walmart look?
Hello, my name is Maggie. I have ADD.
That sounds a little bit more like OCD.
I got a lot more problems than that.
And that too. I just go home. I get fixated on crazy things and tangents and... and all of a sudden this is really important to me. Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Either way, he starts piling shit up against this fence.
Starts piling shit, plants and bags of dirt. And
despite what he piles against it, despite how much he has to climb, it's all for naught.
It's all for naught.
True. Yes.
It is all for naught.
Suddenly there is a branch wrapped around his ankle.
And he's like, another one. Yeah, let me just shake that off. Oh, wait, no, it's...
Oh.
Yeah.
It took shape and stood up. Ooh, don't like when that happens.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. He's going back and he's like, when they're having this, like, save yourself, right? And she's like, no, without you. And he's like, I'm a big boy. I can take care of myself. I mean, he doesn't, he's like, and then he's like, fucking Harry, when will you keep your mouth shut?
Wait, Murph?
Because it was just too easy for the ogre to just, like, chase you in here and lock the door. It's like, maybe this wasn't the Grand Master plan. Maybe this isn't the only, we're good for the next, 3 days. He's never getting out of this one. I twisted that latch,
No need to do anything else.
Right? He's going to take forever to figure out how to get out of this chain link fence. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yes, the pile of trees Dresden is used to get out with has turned into a giant monster and now has him captive.
Yeah. And like all good monsters, the first thing it does is get up and scream. Yeah. I am monster, hear me roar.
Exactly. Stars and stones, Harry.
This concludes our episode 9.14, Consulting the Consultant. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.